The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast NH. This is a podcast designed by writers for writers on the journey to being published. Joined Mandra Biscornet.
It was so healthy and nutritious.
Deborah Monk.
Can we open each podcast with a dance number?
Shelly Devlin.
It was so full of inspiration and sparkles.
Every Tuesday morning live on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe to catch the podcast anytime on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, or your favorite podcast catcher. It's time to be inspired, feel empowered, and be well with the Writer's Block Podcast NH.
Welcome to the Writer's Block Podcast NH. I'm Debbie.
I'm Shelly. And Mandra cannot be with us today because she is doing some field research at the Brigham and Women's. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Shout out to Brad. Brad,
Yes.
We hope you're doing well.
With a shattered elbow getting reconstructed today, so Mandra is by his side.
And he did it doing CrossFit. See, that's my argument for not exercising. You might get hurt.
I love it. I don't know if that's going to stand up, Deb, but I do love it.
Yeah.
I do love it. Mandra's going to be so surprised. I really hope that she's listening like right now as we're live.
Me too.
Because she's going to just roll her eyes into the back of her head when Deb says...
It's not my turn to go. Do you see that, Shelly?
Oh, look at that. It's my turn to go.
It's your turn. Hey, Mandra.
See, Mandra?
We're
We
lost
need
without you.
her. So we were chatting last night, Deb and I, and then this morning, and the allergy bug has just about taken me under its wing. So I am here today, standing up. Barely, but I'm here, and my voice is right there. It's going to do it. It's going to do it. And we decided we were going to change it up a little. Mandra, so sorry. But we're going to talk about being a puzzler. Because previously we did a show about the two types of writers, plotters and pantsters. And plotters make all the important markings on the treasure map of the story before they begin. They outline, they plan the plot twists. They already know the black moment. They know their character's backstory, so they understand their motivations. And they know the ending. But on the other hand, the pantster, which we decided that Deb and I were a little of pantsters, the pantster, on the other hand, doesn't pack anything for their journey to discover the hidden treasure of their story. They begin not knowing where they're going, and for them, it's half the fun. They go on the search completely unprepared, trusting that they will find what they need along the way.
And as a former self-proclaimed pantster, I have always said if I knew the story when I started, I wouldn't write the book. Well, I have been on writing assignment deep in the jungles of Hudson, New Hampshire, and have recently made a startling discovery. I have uncovered the existence of a third archetype of writer. Dun, dun, dun! Called the puzzler. I'm going to copyright that name since I came up with it.
I think you should.
Yes.
I think you should. Mandra would say, is there money in that? Copyright
I know.
that thing.
Streams of income anywhere? Here we go.
That's right.
The puzzler has pieces of a puzzle. On a good writing day, I write things I didn't even know I was going to write. I'm not exactly sure how or where they fit. I just know I'm guided to write those words. A puzzler knows when she's also trying to make things fit, trying to force things together. Even sometimes feels, as the author, it's her responsibility to make them fit. But then the puzzler also knows the sweet pleasure of pieces that fit seamlessly together, as if they were never meant to be pulled apart in the first place. The puzzler experiences the ultimate pleasure of two separate things being put together to create a bigger and better picture than the individual pieces were by themselves. The story gets revealed to a puzzler. When I wrote Well-Behaved Woman Coming Undone, I thought I was writing a story about mother-daughter relationships, and I was writing a story about that. But that's like putting together the pieces of a puzzle and seeing a tongue, and then seeing some whiskers and 4 legs and deducing it's a dog. But then you finish the dog with the puzzle pieces, and there are still a couple of 100 pieces left. That's because as a puzzler, you can't see the whole story at once. In Well-Behaved Woman, it's much more than just a mother-daughter story. It's about generational stories. It's about family patterns and wounds that are passed down as unwittingly as freckles. And for a puzzler, you don't know all the layers of a story until it's done. So I will claim it here on the radio, on air. It's official. My name is Deborah Monk, and I am a puzzler.
I love it, Deb. I think I may be a puzzler too.
I think so, because you were calling yourself a hybrid before, and I think we
Yes.
were just flattering ourselves.
Well, and all of my mentors, you, my editor, Don, have been continually telling me, just continue writing. Keep writing. Keep writing the
Just
stories.
keep writing.
Just keep writing.
Yes. That's the three-worded expletive that you like to use rather than the two that most people use. Just keep writing. You don't want to ever hear that again.
No, I don't want to hear it again. But it seems like there's not enough puzzle pieces together yet to create the correct story. There are pieces that were written that aren't the right pieces to that puzzle.
Right. And I think what happened is you have a whole big box and you've got 3 puzzles all put into them.
Yes.
So you look at that and you think let's say it's a 500 piece puzzle and you say I have 700 pieces. That's enough. But it's really 3 puzzles and you have to separate all of the pieces and put them into the proper story. And at the end of the day, 700 pieces is not enough for 3 500-word puzzles.
It would be easier if the 3 puzzles that were mixed up inside the box, inside my head, were all the same size.
They probably...
No, actually, they are all the same
Yeah, I
size.
think
I
they
want
are.
them to be like a 100-piece puzzle, a 500-piece puzzle, and a 1,000-piece puzzle, so I can easily sort them out.
I'm not really sure you guys thought this puzzle analogy out all that well before you started.
Really?
Oh my God,
are you
I
sure?
feel like it's so
It's so clear. Jonathan, are you a puzzler in your writing, or are you
I just keep writing.
see,
He's not a puzzler.
he's
I
2
don't-
words. Keep writing.
Yeah.
I don't care all that much what the end result's going to be. I just write it out and then deal with it later in editing.
That's because you're a boy.
No, it's because I got my inspiration of writing from the movie Finding Forrester 18
Excuse
years
me.
ago.
I thought you got your
I thought it was
inspiration
us.
to us.
I thought it was us.
I thought we inspired you.
Oh,
Sorry,
You,
ladies.
you saw
I
the
think you
movie
led us to
18
believe that.
years ago. You started writing 4
What,
months
when you were
ago.
2?
No. When
You want to go down to the basement and take a look at some old journals? Because
Are they
I've been
dated?
writing for a long
yeah,
time.
but you haven't. Oh, please. And
I'm published already, so
Oh my God, Mandra, where are you? I need you to help me here.
I got a poem published in a book. I had to buy the
Okay.
book in order to get published in it, but I still am technically published.
yes. So before my book was published, the first, I don't know, however many years of our marriage, he was the only published author in our house.
Oh, my God.
Believe me.
Oh, she hates
I hate
it.
any-
I'm sure it's like a
It was a thorn
splinter
in my
right
craw.
underneath their fingernail, right there.
It is a 500-page book, so it's legit. It's
Yeah.
500 poems in there. Someone made a fortune on that.
His poem, this is his poem. I like boobs. Boobs like me.
So
That's
Well,
not it. I just made that up.
There's poems for everybody. Oh my God.
I would like to give a shout out to
Anywho.
Brenda, who sent me a message saying that she loves my contribution to the show. And so I know she's listening, and I want to give Brenda,
Wow, Brenda.
a shout out.
Yeah. Ooh, Brenda
Who
just
believes that I am the real star, by the way. I don't know why she said that. It's kind of hurtful.
We
but
need some proof. Not for 1 second do I believe that.
We're going to have Brenda on the show is what we're going to do.
I know, because she just went down in my rating a little bit too. And,
So, ooh, that makes me feel good. Hey,
Yeah.
Mandra, did you hear that?
Jonathan, take that back.
I
That
can't
she
take-
said you're the star.
I can't take it
Take
back
that
because
back.
it's
She
the
said
truth.
you're good, but she didn't say
it's
you're the
writing.
star.
I mean, she wrote it down. It's there.
Brenda,
So listen, I think there's a lot of viewers out there that are puzzlers, though.
thank you for getting us back on
Okay,
track.
back
to our
on track.
brilliant point.
It's called a segue.
Because, and I
It's good.
think that one of the things that you had me do, Deb, was with the Post-its. So to take a big poster board and write those stories on the Post-it, even if it was just the title because they were already written, and then start moving them around. I just recently met with a blogger that she's going to be doing some blogging for the salon, and she has a coaching method where she uses magnets. And oh my God, I thought of you with your
Wait,
magnets.
I do like
right?
magnets.
But she said because, sometimes Post-its, they don't
Fall
hold
off.
up, they fall off. So if you put strips of magnets on your poster board, and then each magnet is your story, and every story you want to write, then you really can
Wow.
move it around. And I think that connects to being a puzzler, is putting those puzzle pieces together on what you truly want this book to be about. What do you want? My aunt used to always say to me, what do you want left on your tombstone? What do you want your tombstone to say?
Wow.
So what do you want your book? What's the message?
Well, and I think if you did that, the poster board with the magnets, then you would be a hybrid of a puzzler plotter. Because
Right.
then you would be able to say, okay, this is how I'm going to lay it out, and then you could write it that way.
right.
Yeah, I won't be doing that.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't see Shelly doing that. I see her putting the Post-it notes out and then starting to write the little pieces that explain those notes and then possibly shifting them around, but not using them as an outline so much, but just using them as those points along the story, those points on the treasure map that you have to get the next clue, to get the next piece. I don't see her using it as an outline.
Well, she would write the stories first. She has the stories written.
Right.
So you're right. It wouldn't be an outline.
But it's kind of like solving a murder. You know, when you see in the murder movie, how they have the big wall and then the possible
clues.
people and the clues and everything. And then they start putting that, they're puzzling this together to figure out who did that.
When you're staring at your storyboard, do you have dramatic music behind you? Because I feel like you should.
Yes,
she should.
I definitely do.
Nice.
Yes.
In her head.
It's like deep, hard classical.
Wow.
That's what it is.
I would want Bond music.
Yeah.
James Bond.
James Bond. Oh, James Bond.
I'm Deborah Puzzler.
Oh my!
Don't test me because I'll make a theme song.
I love
I'll have to learn how to play another instrument though. Can't repeat myself. No, I do think it's fair that we should give a warning about being a puzzler. You will write these pieces, and then there will be times when you won't be able to find them. You will know you already wrote about XYZ, and that you wrote the scene better than you ever could again, that better than even Hemingway himself could write them, and then you won't be able to find them. You will pull the house apart, your hair out, and you will pray to the gods. And sometimes you'll be lucky and find the pieces you're looking for, and fair warning, sometimes you don't. Oh, God, we really do need music. Now there's dun, dun, dun.
Right? Right there.
But, yeah.
I think, Deb, we do. I think we need to give an example.
You want an example?
Yeah,
okay,
I do.
An example
because
of?
You have got some stuff that you wrote that connected to well-behaved women, right? That you didn't even realize you wrote a piece that you thought you were going to use.
Oh, about the
Remember
spinach?
we were talking about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is something I wrote on January 18th, 2011. It's a very simple paragraph, and I have never used it in any of my writing yet, and yet it just speaks to me. It starts with, "Please don't make me." When I was young, I absolutely hated cooked spinach. The rule in my house was you had to sit at the dinner table until your plate was clear, whether it took you 20 minutes or 4 hours. I knew the rule and there was no use fighting it. But when it came to cooked spinach, I couldn't help myself. I couldn't make myself eat it. And I can still hear my young voice in my head saying, "Please don't make me." And yesterday I was at my desk and I told myself I had to go back and review the last section of my writing, and I could hear that voice again. Please don't make me. Please don't make me look at my passion. Please don't make me work on my story. Anything would be better. I'll do the dishes. I'll clean the toilet. Anything. I'll even eat cooked spinach. And I wondered, why the resistance? I can understand the cooked spinach. I hate the smell, the taste, the texture. I hate everything about it. But why would I resist something I love as much as I resist something I hate? That question just still, why do we do that? Why is it so hard to sometimes make ourselves do the things that we want to do more than anything in the whole world? It's as hard to make yourself do that as it is to make yourself do the thing that you hate more than anything else.
Because you're being self-reflective. You're diving into your own crap sometimes when you're writing, and that's the hard part. The writing itself is easy. The story will write itself a lot of times, but diving into yourself, into your own heart of hearts, to really get a good, honest look at you, the person, that's the tough part. That's where, for me anyways, that's where the writer's block comes in, where I don't want to look at myself right now.
Right, it's like a hard
That's
look in
funny.
the mirror.
That's how I was feeling 2 nights ago.
I'll go.
Oh boy, back to you two again.
I'm adding that to the show notes. Deborah's being very hostile.
I'm just kidding. I just feel like we don't have Mandra to play off here. I have to play both sides.
You do.
So you think that it's understandable to have resistance to what you love? I mean,
It's
clearly,
not, your resistance isn't to the writing.
Right.
Your resistance is looking at you, the person, in a tunnel. You're the only subject.
well, in the memoir, we're the only subject, but in fiction, we're not.
The way you write fiction?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, that
You
felt
are.
good and bad at the same time.
I was going to say, I'm on his side on that one. That is so true.
Oh, I see. Huh. Geez, I wrote this, Jonathan, in 2011, and I've always wondered why we do that. So I guess I just got a little therapy without Mandra.
Where's that puzzle going to go? Where's
Yeah.
that piece going to
Hey,
go, Deb?
we now have a Mr. Keep It Real. Thanks, Jonathan. So how do we help our listeners with that? What can we tell them? What would the answer be?
You got to just do it. This is where the whole concept of
keep
just
writing.
Right. And sometimes, and in the movie Finding Forrester, the author, I'm drawing a blank, William, he says to his student, here, take this, and he pulls out a piece from 1960 that he had published in the New Yorker, and he gives it to him, and he says, start by writing the first paragraph, and when your words take over, you just go with that. And the kid ends up writing this unbelievable piece. The first paragraph is the same, and then it morphs into his writing, and he just used that as a jumpstart. So that's a nice technique when you're really just up against the wall. And you can put your own book aside and just write, and then start writing something that you wrote before and rewrite it and let that story just kind of unfold, and that'll work you back into the mode of writing.
I think Jonathan's right. It's the just do it. Just keep writing.
It does get back to
keep
that.
writing.
Right. A lot of times in simple wisdom, there are so many layers to it that we think we understand. Just keep writing. But just in today's show, we're kind of examining why just keep writing is such a good answer to so many things.
Right.
And if you're a puzzler like me, a lot of times I'm writing stuff, I don't know why I'm writing it. I mean, when I restarted my memoir for the 5th time, I wrote something like, I have a broken tooth, ... And then I went on for a page about it. And I still love that piece. Why? I don't know, but I was just... So as a puzzler, sometimes I just think you have to just let yourself write what you want to write. You can always go back and edit.
Right. Correct.
I mean, here's another example. In my memoir right now, the way I'm doing it is, as you know, because you've been seeing it, but I'm jumping back because I wrote it, kind of in the old days, and then I hated that. And then I wrote it currently, and then I hated that.
Right.
And then the writers group suggested, well, what about weaving them together? And, I said, how? And, of course, you guys didn't tell me how. Made me go home and sit in my house by myself, a lonely puzzler, looking very puzzled. But I ended up doing it kind of by chapter of yesterday and today, segueing back and forth between the past and the present, which is potentially kind of an interesting way to do it. And the piece I was working on yesterday, ironically, the yesterday section ended with, I get the call I've been waiting for all my life. Now, that's a great hook.
Yeah, I want to turn the page.
Right, you can't help but
buy
turn
the
the
next
page.
book or something.
Ooh, let's hope they do both.
I like it.
So I wrote that, but when you turn the next page, we're jumping in time forward to today, and that section starts with Sophie calls from Australia. So I
didn't plan that.
Not at all. And for all I know, it might end up being confusing. When I go back in the editing process, I might have to edit that out. But I feel like they're clues that I'm on the right track. For me, it feels like it's being sewn together, stitched together by a power or by a wisdom bigger than me.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's really kind of cool. So shall we take we got to take a little project update here?
Yeah. I like the project update.
Before we go any further, I just want to say there's 2 other things that have worked for me in the past. Sometimes I'll set a timer for 5 minutes, and I'll just sit there and vomit out on the page. And I don't have to like it, just whatever pops into my head, I start writing and writing and writing, and I have to write for the 5 minutes, that's it.
Yep.
It may not be on the topic of my book, but it's just writing. And then...
I do the same. For me, it's 15 minutes, but I agree, it's brilliant.
Do you ever write, like, I don't want to write, I don't want to write, I don't want to write, I don't want to write
no,
for 5 minutes? Because damn it, I would definitely do that.
That's quitting.
Damn it.
No, if you look at the table and you look at a bean, you just write about the bean. Because you'll
describe
be surprised.
The bean, you just
suddenly suddenly you remember. Oh, remember that time my dad hit me across the table because I dropped a bean? Oh shit! Oh, sorry, I digress. Go ahead, Jonathan. What's the second point?
You can also do a little exercise, do some calisthenics, go for a run real quick, just to kind of get the blood flowing, and then come in, and sometimes that'll get the juices flowing, literally. And you can start putting things on the page.
Yeah.
Because while you run,
you've
got your internal narrative going.
Yes.
You are writing without capturing it. So you just something quick, 5 minutes. Just go for a quick jog, and then that'll sometimes jar your.
Remember the
show? The endorphins running.
We did where I bought the mini trampoline.
Yes,
I put that
you're
on
right.
the porch. I would use, so
You're
that
right.
I would say if I can't think of anything to write, I have to go out and do 5 minutes of jumping jacks on the trampoline.
Yeah.
And after doing that 3 or 4 times, the next time you have the thought, I don't know what else to write, your brain says, I do, because I'm not going out there on the porch again in the winter in the snow.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. So project update, Shell?
So my project update, Mandra's going to be laughing. Jonathan won't be laughing. He'll be rolling his eyes into the back of his head. But I was role-playing inside my head and decided I was going to become a public school teacher. And my writing was going to be the public school, and I'm going to take the summer off.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious. Oh, and hold on. Remember when I brought my memoir to you guys and I just asked for permission to put it away and it
Yes.
was not granted?
And I said no.
You need to
And
apply.
I reminded you that you are the writer. So you are not allowed to put it down. I'm not saying that I'm putting it down, but I have sat at that table a million times. I just dusted it off, put a fresh piece of paper right there. I have been reading other people's
Okay, that's
books.
good. That counts.
So that has been, helping a little bit, kind of boost. I think I am going to go to the magnets and the Post-its, and I think there are some stories that don't belong in the book. They
Right,
are
they
in a
don't.
different book.
Yeah.
So maybe rewriting. I'm going to take Jonathan's
I
advice
think
and
you're stuck
rewrite some
at
of those
that
stories.
spot where you just don't want to look at the
Yeah.
real you
Yeah.
anymore.
Ooh.
And
go deeper.
this is the point. So you're at a crossroads right now. You could take the easy way,
Yeah.
or you could take the road less traveled, like Robert Frost. Take the road less traveled because you're at a point where you're going to hit either the next piece of your learning curve, or you're about to just
Break through
vomit out
and be
something
done.
spectacular,
Right.
and you could be
Yes.
missing that opportunity.
You're right. You're right. Absolutely.
So your application for the summer off will be considered at our next meeting when Mandra's here.
And Deb,
All right.
what's going on with your project?
Well, a quick
'Cause
project
it's getting
update.
exciting.
We're getting close. I really thought today that I would be able to make the announcement of when both books will be out, but unfortunately we have run into some copyright issues because my first book was published by a traditional publisher. When we tried to upload it, it was denied. They said that I don't own, you can't do that because you don't own the rights. XYZ publisher owns the rights.
Sure.
So I had to go back to my publisher, get a letter, and send it. So it's under consideration right now. I'm proving that I do have the rights back to the book.
Now, how hard was that? We, being the publishing company is no longer in business.
Fortunately, I've hired the woman who was my formatter at the publisher house. I did still have her information. So she is my
wow.
formatter that I'm using. So here's an example of the don't do it yourself, because if that had come back to me, I would have really been lost, and it would have been very difficult for me to prove that I had the rights back.
Even though you're the author.
Because
Right.
I gave the book, I sold the book to a publisher a few years ago for my very first book, Searching for Julia Stone. And so at that point, I didn't have the rights anymore. When they closed, they did not have to give them back. They could have kept them. Now, they were very
Right.
nice in giving them back. But I now have to prove that has happened, and that it is once again my own intellectual property. So
And how long will that process take?
at this point, I'm hoping a week, but I can't be sure.
Okay.
So hopefully by our next show, I can announce when the books will be out. But
Awesome.
and how about we are almost out of time. But what about a very brief walk around the neighborhood? Cue music. Do do do.
Deb, I love it. I love
All
it.
right. And so if we can have that playing low in the background, I will just do a very quick update. Last week I had mentioned that I sent my newest line of cards, to the paper store. And I have received a personally written response, a very kind, hate to use the R word, but another rejection. They are under contract with Hallmark, so if you're not a Hallmark card, they can't display anything within 30 feet of the Hallmark displays that are in the paper store.
Okay.
So she literally has 2 spin racks that can go beside the register. Those are the only 2 lines of cards that she can carry that are not Hallmark. So again, she wrote that if either of those stop selling well, that she will keep me in mind. So I'm considering it a postponement.
I like that.
Rather
I like
It's
than
a
that.
rejection.
I like that.
So keep our
Postponed for another time.
Yes, postpone. And maybe all of our listeners will go into their local paper store and request the Life Pondering Magnet greeting cards. That
oh my
might
God,
help.
would that be hysterical? Do you have life ponderings? Do you have life ponderings?
Yes.
Oh
Can't
my
they
God.
just buy them on your website?
Well, they could do that too.
Well, only a few lines, not all of them.
At DeborahMonk.com.
But
Oh,
if they
thank you.
just sent you an email, I'm sure you'd sell them
Yes.
The new lines.
I give them away often, so yes. Anyhow.
Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you for joining us today on The Writer's Block. And our goal is to inspire, empower, and for you all to be well.
Particularly Brad. We're sending you an extra special Mandra Be Well to Brad Biscornet.
Attention cigar smokers or even friends of a cigar smoker. If you're looking to relax with a nice premium cigar or looking for a great gift for a cigar smoker, this is the gift that keeps on giving. Our friends at twoguyscigars.com have created the Cigar of the Month Club. For just $19.99 per month, you or a friend will receive 4 different premium handmade cigars every month, and shipping and handling is included.
Contact twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2, guyscigars.com, and go to the Cigar of the Month Club. You can stop anytime because there's no contract, but you won't. This is a tremendous deal for our listeners. Go to twoguyscigars.com. That's the number 2, guyscigars.com, and click the Cigar of the Month Club.
At the same time, if you want to learn more about the cigars you receive each month, you can smoke along with them on our own podcast called The Cigar Authority. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a nice premium cigar from our friends at twoguyscigars.com.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.